Hello, I'm going to talk about books that I've read in January, or like the books that I haven't talked about yet on this channel, because I know everyone loves to hear my book reviews. That's sarcasm, you don't, but it's fine. I'm gonna keep doing it. And then I'm also recording another video today talking about something that, I don't know, I'm indecisive. I haven't decided yet if I want to do a video about why someone has an issue with you right now, or if I want to do a video about something good that's coming your way. However, I feel like being messy today, so I might do the first one. But anyways, so we're gonna go over stuff that I haven't reviewed yet on this channel, books that I've read lately. I've read already some books that are like my favorite of all time, and then I've also read books that literally made me want to throw them against the wall across the room. Okay, so is this not the most beautiful book you ever read? Seen? Gold? Are you kidding me? Did I buy the iBook version and read it on an iBook because I've become addicted to technology and have no way to sustain myself without it? Also, I really hope that you guys don't pick up how heavy the traffic is and the storm is outside, but anyways, so I read this book already this year. Actually, I finished it yesterday. Technically I read it online though, so I didn't get the feel of like how beautiful flipping through these pages is. I do think I like annotated one thing so far. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I know I really wanted to annotate this book, but I will say I gave this book a 5-star review, mainly because I know it's literally the blueprint for a lot of romance novels, and I would be kind of ridiculous not to. But did I become so attached to the the Keira Knightley adaptation of it that nothing else can match that adaptation? And I got close, or you know when you get like just attached to a certain version of something and then you see the original, and the original is really cool. Obviously it inspired what you love, but it's not what you're used to. So it's not that you don't like it, but it's just that it's different. So that's kind of how I felt about this. There were some scenes in here that were like quite literally just like the movie, which I guess it's funny because usually people complain that the movie should be like the book, but my complaint is that I wish this book was more like the movie. Granted, this book was written in like 1813, I believe, and I watched the movie that was made in like 2004. So but this book is beautiful. This is obviously about Elizabeth Bennet, and she is kind of a chill, humble girl with a big family. Her mom is obsessed with marrying off her daughters because none of them are married yet. Then they go to this ball, and then there's this snooty Mr. Darcy, and he is like looking down on everyone. He's like very rich and aristocratic, and he has like a higher ranking status than Elizabeth Bennet and her family, and he's like looking down at everyone and kind of like, no one here is handsome enough to tempt me. And that is basically how she forms her first opinion about him. She ends up like kind of hating him. It's like the OG friends to lovers, or enemies to lovers novel. Like, this walked so everything else could run, you know? So this was just a really nice book to read. I do wish I had more patience for it. I blame TikTok on my attention span not being able to appreciate famous literature the way that I probably could have before TikTok, if that makes sense. So yeah, 5-star read. But would I read this book again? No. This is Your Brain on Birth Control. I personally have been going on and off of it just to torture myself for funsies. No, but like I've been kind of just at war with myself on like what's best for my body. But then I also like don't want children yet, so I got back on it. But anyway, so I was like I was in the market to educate myself on this topic lately. And this isn't a bad book. Clearly it's like a scientist giving their statistics around birth control, your brain on birth control, and there's a lot of information in here. It's very useful. But was I kind of hoping that there was more of a swayed opinion? Like I wanted to hear someone's perspective, and I felt like it was like very careful to not do that. So if you don't want a book that has like a bias, then I would say to get this book. My issue with it was ironically that I wanted a bias, I guess. Like I wanted someone to tell me whether birth control was bad or good, and I guess the truth is, like, it's just all gray space, and that's basically what this book tells me. Yeah. Oh, but I did learn that men are less attracted to you when you're on it, and I was like, that, sign me up. But no, just kidding. And this one I DNF'd, like I did not finish. It's The Last Chance Library. It has such a beautiful premise. It's about, okay, I'll read the back. Lonely librarian June Jones has never left the sleepy English village where she grew up. Shy and reclusive, the 28-year-old would rather spend her time buried in books than venture out into the world. But when her library is threatened with closure, June is forced to step out from behind the shelves to save the heart of her community and the place that holds the dearest memories of her mother. June, a band of eccentric yet dedicated locals in a campaign to keep the library, June opens herself up to people for the first time since her mother died. It just so happens that her old school friend, Alex Shen, is back in town and willing to lend a helping hand. The kind-hearted lawyer's feelings for her are obvious to everyone but June, who won't believe that anyone could ever care for her in that way. To rescue the place and the books that mean so much to her, June must finally make some changes in her life, and maybe in fighting for her cherished library, June can save herself too. Sounds good, right? Like, I feel like I should really like this book, but it was just so slow. Like, I started skimming chapters. Things were just, you know, when books, okay, and no offense to my Brits, but do you know how, like, I'm sure American literature, like, in romance novels is probably super forward and fast-paced, but, like, contrary to that, British literature, like romantic novels written by a British person, or like in the British perspective, is more slow-paced, reserved, and I don't hate that, but I am a fire sign, a triple fire sign, and I get bored easily, so that's like the most polite way I could say that it's not set up for me. If you like slow burn, slow kind of development of things, where the backdrop is painted more than maybe the action in the story. Granted, I only maybe stopped after a few chapters because I made a New Year's resolution to myself not to finish books I am not vibing with. But yeah, this is just, it might be good for you. For me, those are the reasons why it wasn't. Okay, so this is another book I did not finish. This is The Silent Patient. Everyone really loved this book online. Like, this was like trending on Book Talk. This was like the book of, I think, 2022. It's about like kind of a whodunit murder mystery intrigue, but it's like a therapist who's trying to crack a case while also like understanding the mind of a murderer. This person murdered their husband or something, and then she like never speaks again, and so this therapist gets like super psychotically obsessed with her. I'm thinking like Freud kind of dynamic, like just like super like wants to, like, I don't know, like, I'm just super obsessed with her. And the only way I could think of it was kind of like how white men get obsessed with the manic pixie dream girl. I just feel like it was one of those, like, this weird obsession, and there was a plot twist, but I feel like by the time you get to the plot twist, I personally was bored. I didn't care anymore. This is just, honestly, it kind of feels like the writing of it is like reading Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Like, it's the same delusional, obsessive kind of dialogue. I don't really care to hear the old therapist's male perspective. That's most of the book, that if not the entire book, and so that's why I don't care about this book. Okay, this is probably my most hated book of, I want to say, of life. That's a little extreme. I don't know. It's thought-provoking, though. Okay, so this is called Milk Fed. I wanted to love this book. And there were some parts of it that I didn't actually hate. But it was so violently graphic. Let me just kind of give you the rundown. It's this girl named Rachel. She's a 24-year-old. She calls herself a lapsed Jew. She is going through an extreme eating disorder, and her like safe food is going to a yogurt shop every day, and she ends up falling for this girl. She's I think she's bisexual, but she's just really attracted to this girl who is a closeted I don't even know what her like orientation is, but I know that she definitely is interested in women as well, maybe as men, but Anyways, so she gets obsessive with this girl. She's also really obsessive with, like, girl relationship dynamics around her, and she blames it on, like, the fact that she has mommy issues and that she has a damaged relationship with her own mother. But the way that she fetishizes even her own mother in, like, a very sexually explicit way, just something that I couldn't vibe with. I have severe mommy issues. I'm in no contact right now with my own mother, so there were certain parts where she would describe certain things, and I did like certain quotes about this where I could understand where she was coming from. But then there would be, like, the weird graphic scenes of, like, literal, like, sexual fantasies with her mother, and I was like, what the hell, this is not at all relatable, at least for me. Like, this is, I was disgusted. And then the thing that pissed me off the most is, like, okay, at least we get a Jewish representation, sapphic novel, like, lesbian depiction, woman loves woman kind of dynamic. But then there's a sex scene, and it's like, she's saying how she's smelling manure and how beautiful it is, and another person on Goodreads commented that she quoted smelling fish during sex, and I just thought it was like my opinion is maybe this is a straight woman who's kind of uneducated that's writing about other people's perspectives in the most vile way possible, because, like, this book could have been really beautiful. It could have been about, WLW love story, but also a healing love journey with yourself, and the dichotomy of relationships with women and bad relationships with your mom. And I wanted it to be that, but then it just, like, kind of shit on any, like, real purpose of anything. It didn't really stand for anything, and then it just, like, made a lot of depictions look really, like, tasteless, and that's not, like, a lot of it just didn't feel accurate. So yeah, I don't know. And, like, pansexual, like, I'm not, like, this is just, I don't know. I wanted to like it, and I saw the potential that it had, and I think it's, like, it wanted to hit so many points that it missed the mark on everything. That's how I feel about it. I also do have some quotes from that book that I like that I'm gonna read to you from Milkfed, because, again, I didn't hate the book completely. I hated the way that it went. I hated the route they took with it. They could have just been better. There was a love that always existed between women. It would continue to exist. I thought that was cute. He acted like family was a good thing. I thought that was funny. Okay, I guess that's the only quote that I actually mentioned. Alright. Anyways, moving on to the best book ever. I love this book so much, and I literally, like, the plot twist in this book, I can't tell you how much my jaw dropped. I literally made, like, an audible dramatic gasp when I read this, and I'm never that dramatic when I read books, but I was when I read this book. It is The Dead Romantics Chef Kiss. It is, like, it's just so perfect. Let me just explain. Okay, so Florence Day is a ghostwriter, but her family also can see ghosts, and certain people in her family have the gift. Her and her father have the gift of seeing actual ghosts. Long story short, she is a ghostwriter, and then she has this cute new editor come in and tells her basically, like, she's been slacking because she had her heart broken recently. This guy that she was really in love with basically took her whole personal, like, life story. It's kind of like if you confided to someone about your personal trauma and then they, like, made a book about you. That's what her ex did to her. So she's, like, healing, and she's trying to get back into her work mojo because she has deadlines to meet. And then she finds out that I don't know if this is a spoiler. Okay, yeah, it's not. So she finds out that her dad dies, and then she has to rush home to go and bury him. And then as she rushes home to bury him, she hasn't been back in town in forever. Like, she'll see ghosts in New York, but she won't talk to them. But she used to talk to the ghosts in her town because her dad was always, like, encouraging her, like, it's your job to let them have peace, like, let them, make sense of what's happening to them, like, it's your responsibility, it's our family legacy, like, that kind of thing. So she gets to her town, and then she sees her editor. Her editor is not a human form, it's a ghost form, and she's like, what happened? And then she doesn't understand that the editor, died. So the editor's also having a hard time. So not only is she burying her father, but she's trying to, like, deal with this cute editor who is now a ghost, and help him come to terms with himself while also, like, trying to figure out what happened to him. And they catch feelings, and she's in love with a ghost. But it's just so cute because it gives you like that Edward Scissorhands vibe where the girl in the book in the movie was like, hold me, and then he was like, I can't. Like, it's just like that kind of vibe throughout the book. And then they have to say goodbye, and there's a huge plot twist at the end. Oh my god. Like, not gonna lie, when I was reading through this book towards like the middle, I was just kind of like, okay, like, beautiful book, but like I want to go jump off a cliff now. Like not good. But the ending honestly made everything just so perfect. I think it was the coolest way to tie up this book that you don't see coming. Like, there's no way you would see this coming, and it's just so nice and so great, and I loved the ending. So I don't think that you're gonna be upset with the ending, and it's just so great, and it's broody. Like, she's broody, and I love when the heroine is broody and not the guy, but I feel like they're both broody. It's kind of like how Emily Henry writes, so if you read like Book Lovers or Beach Read, then I think you'll like this book too. Okay, love was a high for a moment that left you hollow when it left, and then you spent the rest of your life chasing that feeling. And then, your grandma, my mother, told me once that the wind is just the breath of everyone who came before us, all the people who've passed on, all the ones who've taken a breath, and he took a breath himself, loud and dramatic, and exhaled. They're still in the wind, and they'll always be in the wind, singing until the wind is gone. Do you hear them? And then, because loneliness was the kind of ghost that haunted you long after you were dead, it stood over your plot in the cemetery where a lone name sat carved in marble. It sat with your urn. It was the wind that carried your ashes when no one claimed your body. I just love that part. And then this one is, I'm not that pretty, Ben. He gave me a strange look. His eyelashes were long, and the ochre fleck in his brown eyes glimmered in the dim evening light. But you are. And then, as you can see, I highlighted two different parts of this. And I said, suddenly a gust of wind whistled through the house. The beams creaked, the windows rattled. Ben gave a start. It's just the dead singing, I replied. Maybe it was Dad somewhere caught on the wind. Wait, she says, I wish I'd met you sooner when you were alive. And he returned the sad smile and said, me too. Okay, sorry, my husband came in for a second. I don't know if I can read some of these quotes because I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to read this book. But I will read one more quote, and it says, you did say romance was dead. I tilted my head looking at his reflection in the mirror. Aren't you? Anyways, oh, that's so cute. I love it. Chef's Kiss. I can't recommend this book enough. Like, obviously I have a pattern of only liking romance novels that either have themes around death, someone has been grieving, or someone is dying in the book. Now let's go over the books that I've also read in January that are on, like, iBooks. After I Do. And I did give this 5 stars, and we have talked on this channel about Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't really know my stance on her. I bought this book before there was the Carrie Soto scandal, so I was gonna read it. Lauren and Ryan's, they've been together for like 11 years, and I think like they've just been around each other so much that they're so used to each other that they just got kind of complacent. And I feel like they both reached this point where like they just feel kind of numb around each other. Like, they don't feel the way they used to, or they don't feel the way that they should. Like, they're always bickering. There's no sexual attraction, like that kind of vibe. So basically they both make a pact to take a whole year apart, no contact, and then in a year determine if they should work things out, and maybe like it'll make them more appreciative of one another, or if they need to go separate ways. This book had me on the edge of my seat. It was crazy because it's like I read a 5-star read, The Dead Romantics, and then I read After I Do, and it was like, oh my gosh, like my expectations for 2023 are already so rocketed high. But yeah, because you see her having to basically grieve her husband because she's like kind of going through a mini breakup. She's trying to like go through the emotions of accepting that maybe things were not as good as like they both thought that they were. Excuse me. And then you see her start trying to move on and start trying to date, and then she like, you know, we have that weak moment when we're trying to get over someone, or we're trying to, you know, stop thinking about someone, where we think of ways to lurk and see if they're thinking about us. So she found his email password and she logged into his email, and like she kept seeing updated drafts, like where he kept writing emails that he never sent to her throughout this like year, and basically updating her about when he meets someone, when he misses her, like when how hard things are going for him, how great things are going for him, like that kind of thing. So like you're getting this like roller coaster perspective from both parties unintentionally in a way. But anyways, it's one of those books where it's just like you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone sometimes. And I think that it does have a good ending. I don't think I would like it if it didn't, but it's really just a good book that helps you think about things. It's very thought-provoking, and I personally have been in a relationship. I've been with my husband since 2014, so that's like going on 9 years in July, and then in October it'll be your 1 year married. So like I completely understand this book's perspective of being with someone for so long that, you know, sometimes things are not like the first year all fireworks every single day 24/7. Does that mean that love goes away? No. But does that mean that things are not always easy? Yeah. So like I really appreciated that book and the perspective because it was just so relatable and so raw and vulnerable. And yeah. And then we are only like mid-January. We're like January 16th right now. And the only book that I just started is like, I don't know, it's definitely like one of those books that everyone's like, look at the trigger warning. So I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I don't even know if I'm going to end up do not like finishing it or not, but it's the Mindfuck series, and I guess there's like 5 books and that people just like can read really fast, and I'm trying to hit my 100 books goal this year, so I'm like kind of just trying to devour anything. Like miniseries sounds great because you're going to read more quickly, so that's my logic with that, but we'll see. I'm only on chapter 1. I never even finished chapter 1, but if you liked this video, if you have any thoughts yourself, if you read certain books that I've mentioned and have different opinions, let me know, and I will see you maybe in another week or two when I do like a wrap up of books that I probably read from now until then that I haven't been able to review yet. But yeah, have a good day.